So people who struggle from meditation, they said that it was easy for them to get into that state through this meditation. And I would say like 85-90% of people has no issue, to get into that state and start stepping into and doing the healings, even this meditation healing or or the healing with me, because there is another one, the source memory healing, which I do one-on-one with clients when I actually guide them into their memories.
Welcome to Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Rinaldi. This is a space to explore the full spectrum of grief, from the kind that comes with death to the kind that shows up in life's many transitions. Through stories and conversations, we remind each other that we're not alone. Your journey matters, and here we're figuring it out together. Let's dive right in to today's episode. Let's start with a quick disclaimer. This podcast includes personal stories and perspectives on topics like grief, health, and mental wellness. The views expressed by guests are their own and may reflect individual experiences that are not meant as medical advice. As the host, I hold space for diverse voices, but that does not mean I endorse every viewpoint shared. Please listen with care and take what resonates with you. Hello. Thank you for choosing to listen today. Today I'm chatting with Edith Bikis. She is a holistic mentor, a success habit coach, #1 best-selling author, Humanitarian Award winner, and an international speaker. And we will be talking about a little bit about her life, the type of individuals she helps. She has helped people all over the world, different countries, and continues to help. So I'm excited to have this conversation and get to know you and learn about you. So welcome, Edith.
Hi, Kendra. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me.
I am so glad you are here and happy to get to learn about your story. So I like to start off by getting to know the guests a little more. Where did you grow up and where do you live now?
So I grew up in Hungary and I lived there till I was like 19. And then I also went back and forth when I was doing my university there as well. So my basic curriculum was from Hungary. And then I didn't even speak English until age 18. So it was really interesting when I started to learn English and suddenly I understood the songs, the lyrics.
I'm curious with that. Did you end up realizing, like, wait, I was singing this all along and this is what it meant?
Yes, for example, one of my romantic song with my ex, it used to be a breakup song. I was like, holy shit.
I love that. I know for me, even though I grew up with both languages in my household, it's like still you when you're hearing something, even though it's like you're like, oh, I think that's what it says in that word. But now, like that you have access to seeing the lyrics of songs online, I'm like, oh, all this time I was singing it this way, and that's not what it said. It said this, like it's just funny that it makes it completely different. Okay, so you learned English at 18, and then where
Yeah,
where did you
so
where did you go after you left
So what
Hungary?
happened is that when I was a child, in Hungary, we grew up in a communist era, so it was like under Russian control kind of thing. So we had to learn Russian, and I also learned German, but not the English. And then I was really excited more about history and geography. That was my passion, and mythology. But eventually I ended up as an engineer because that was the easiest journey for me because I was good in math and physics. So I was like, okay, let's try that path. And I also love travel. And then I chose a kind of engineering career which included travel, which was the oil industry. So I was a petroleum engineer, which actually helped me to travel around living in different countries. And and then I experienced in one of my travels, I experienced panic attacks. And then I was obviously freaking out. I didn't know what was going on, what's happening to me. And then I, rushed to the doctors and then got some tranquilizers. And then I didn't like the effect. So eventually when I got home, I try to figure out what to use which is natural, not medication. And that's why I ended up with spiritual healings like Reiki healing and later family constellation therapies. And then I was really fascinating about this different world, and it became my sanctuary, my getaway from work, or later when I had my kids and family, then basically that was my little hobby, just to go on little retreats like weekend stuff once in a while, and then learning about this modality. So I became a Reiki master as well eventually, and it helped me to manage my panic attacks. It helped me to manage my relationship issues, or when I was a bit out of sync, I didn't know like how to behave with my kids or whatever. So it was always bringing me some peace, right? And later I got introduced to karma yoga healing, which was like a big transformation for me when I really realized that I want to help others also to heal. I want to help others to find peace and harmony, because this tool is really special, and this tool is really helped me to overcome things which I couldn't for decades. So that was my story to moving from engineering to healing,
To
basically.
healing. And then there's several things. So for the listeners, because I'm familiar with some of the things that you said, but not all of it. Like for example, I don't know the karma yoga healing. I know yoga. I don't know the karma yoga healing. I know the other. I know Reiki. I know constellations. But can you explain a little bit about what each is? What is Reiki? What is constellation? Because the constellations is a big one now. And do you work on constellations too? Do you do constellations as
I do
well?
it in a different way, because I will
Oh,
explain you that
oh, I
later.
love
Yeah.
that. Okay. And that's a big top. I know with my friends, a lot of us are always talking about this, and several have seen people that do constellations. And then karma yoga healing. Can you explain a little bit of what each is?
Yes, yes. So Reiki healing is an energy healing, which means that when you attune to the Reiki energies, you basically invoke the light energy from the source, and then you project it through your hands to your patient, like, or to other people. And you can do it like if you are a level one, you have to touch the person basically with your hands. If you are level two, level three, you actually use certain signs, and then you can do distance healing. So that's like sending a distance energy, and it's really good for chakra cleansing. It's really good to raise your vibration, helping your supporting your body on their own healings, because we are our worst enemy, like when we think negatively, when we are in a negative vibration, basically we're ruining our wellness or body. And when we are able to raise our vibration, to rest, and then not to have negative thoughts, that's when the body can heal. So that's about Reiki. And the family constellation therapy is something really interesting. When I was introduced to it, we did it in group settings, and in the house of my Reiki master. And what happened is that we had to, like a group of people, we had to kind of invoke the spirits of a family, and then working with these spirits, like we had to go through forgiveness, acceptance, all of this procedure, because it turned out that sometimes your issues in your current relationships or in your life is actually related to what your ancestors went through. So when you actually heal them, and then they can heal from the pain or from their emotional issues, then it's a ripple effect into your life. And it was so interesting when I was doing this, that it's actually like within 3-4 weeks, it just happens in your life, the shift, because
You
it takes
cleared
a
the
bit of
energy.
time. Yeah, it takes
Yeah,
a bit
it's
of
like
time.
generational trauma that is healed. It's like what people talk about generational trauma. It's like you being
Mm.
able to realize what it has been and being able to heal that energy that has been throughout the different generations of your family, but through the constellation therapy method,
Yes,
kind of.
yes. And then, we think that when our ancestors dies, then basically they are happy flappy, because they, leave their body behind, which was causing the most of the issue, maybe the illnesses or the something. But their spirits is still remembers, their spirits can be still hurt and then struggling. And then when we do family constellation therapies, we actually give them a favor, also to be healed, and they also find peace, and they also, very feel very grateful and blessed that we help them to go through that healing.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. And there's a great movie on Netflix if people want to understand that, because that was like what helped me a little bit to understand was it's called Another Self, is a Turkish movie. it's a not a it's a series, and it's like two seasons, but it's really good to be able to kind of understand it in a way that's non like, yeah, it's just a TV show, but
Yeah.
that's how I, at least it helped me to understand a little bit more about how it worked.
And then
So yoga, yeah,
yeah, and then how I do the family constellation therapy is actually related to the karma yoga healing, because with the karma yoga healing I was introduced to an ancient practice which is also called Kashmiri Shivaism, and it's originated from Kashmir, from the Himalayas, and I was learning it from an Indian guru. And basically, is helping you also to go through the similar process as family constellation therapy, but in a meditation. So there are particular meditations that you tune into the family unconscious. You literally step into the family unconscious, and you can actually request answers from there, and you can guide through your ancestors a healing through the meditation. So it's basically you can do it alone at your space, at home, just listening to this meditation, and you get the similar results because you actually go from the issue and you go into the family consciousness and you release it from there. You have your ancestors.
is there like hypnotherapy within that space of that meditation, or like are
So
you like
it's
in a hypnotic type of state in that meditation?
Yeah, so one of the tool in this karma yoga healing is the samadhi meditation. That's like a very important tool, and we start nearly every session with samadhi meditation because that's how you transcend. So yes, you need to transcend is something like hypnosis, but it's more like a transcendental meditation. So basically, you are activating your pineal gland and your eighth chakra as well, and then you transcend into the unconscious. So you are in theta delta brain waves when you are actually connecting with these unconscious, the family unconscious.
Edith, question with that, like, does someone have to already have experience meditating in order to be able to get to do this type of karma yoga? Like,
Mhm.
like, how long does the process take of someone to be able, in general, of what you've seen, to master being able to get to that depth? Because I know that I struggle even sitting down for sometimes 5 minutes to meditate in the way that sometimes that I do, right, in my brain going. So does someone have to already have a very good meditation practice in order to be able to achieve this?
No, absolutely not. Most of my clients comes to me who some of them never even meditated, and some of them have the same struggle as you. And this is a guided meditation, so it's actually give you step by step like what to think of, what to see, what to visualize, and then basically going through the activation and bringing you into that state. So people who struggle from meditation, they said that it was easy for them to get into that state through this meditation. And I would say like 85-90% of people has no issue to get into that state and start stepping into and doing the healings, even this meditation healing or or the healing with me, because there is another one, the source memory healing, which I do one-on-one with clients when I actually guide them into their memories. And then we go into like we have if they have an issue in the current life, we actually ask the unconscious to bring in memories into the consciousness, which actually was the root. So basically to find those memories is most of the people who go through this practice, it's easy for them, just the memory appears and then they tune in. And it's not just about this lifetime memories. Many times I'm working with past life memories as well in the same source memory healing session. Just yesterday I had a session with a client, and she was one memory was this lifetime, next memory was other lifetime. So because we deal with like 6 memories in one session usually, and one of them was this, the other was past life, so it was like back and forth, and then it was really interesting. But yeah, so it's basically it's not you don't it's not doesn't require any upfront practice. I tell them that okay, before they come for the first session, just practice for like 5 days the samadhi meditation, the particular meditation we're gonna do. So just do it for like 5 days, so actually they have that kind of awareness, or they know how it goes, and then they feel how they feel about it. So if it doesn't brings them to that state, or if they didn't like it, they can tell me, if they didn't understood it or something. So I always tell them like, okay, let's give you a 5 days just to practice.
To do it. Now, do people in general, is it best that they're prepared, let's say, with even aside from having practice, fasted beforehand? Is there any particular state in which the person has to be?
No,
No, at all?
absolutely not. No, no. The
Awesome.
only
Okay, good.
thing which I usually ask that before the session that they don't have coffee or caffeine,
Mhm.
because we want them to be peaceful. We want them to be relaxed. I had a client who always been caffeinated, and then it was much harder for her to relax or to step into memories because she was always high. So I had to remind her that next time, please don't drink coffee because it makes it more difficult to tune in and to actually get results. So that's the only thing.
That's perfect. No, that answered my question because I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, because depending on where you are, like your brain can go,
Hmm.
be more like mine. I am caffeinated this morning, so mine would not work today. Edith, thank you for explaining that and the different modalities as to what it is you do with your clients in order to be able to access these traumas. Now, your guests come to you for different types of reason. Your guests, mine are guests on the podcast. Your clients come to you for different reasons. What are the majority of reasons that people may show up? Like, what is happening in their life that makes
Yeah.
them seek? Like, for you was anxiety that made you seek that. What is
Yeah.
the emotion that most people have?
Most people is going through like life changes, like for example divorce or grief, or they sometimes in a depression, or even feeling lost. That also occurs often, that they feel lost, which means they are not happy in their current life, but they don't know what they should do instead. So that's another pattern which shows up. But depression is common, and the grief and divorce, those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the part of people not knowing where they are in their life is so common to kind of in that midlife stage, right? Of you're evaluating where you've been. I'm in that stage in my life, right? I'm 50 years old. You're evaluating where have you been? Does the life that you have right now look like what you had envisioned? And a lot of times people start feeling a lot of angst and regrets and things like this, thinking as if their life is almost quote unquote over when you still have another half to go, right? But it is very common to feel disoriented and even again even depression and grief shows up in our lives when our lives don't look the way we thought they would look like at certain stages of our life, right? So I could see why clients would go to you. Are the majority of your clients in that kind of bracket of age wise of the in their midlife chapter, or is it a variety of ages?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Maybe the majority is 40, 50, yeah, in their 40s, 50s, but I also had clients in their 20s or 30s as well. Because, in 30s, sometimes they feel lonely and they are like, oh my God, I'm still alone. I still don't have a partner. I still don't have kids. I feel antisocial, and then I feel unhappy in my job. So that's for the 30s. In their 20s, usually who comes somebody to me in their 20s is like because they have anxiety or they have PTSD. They maybe were abused as a child, and then they have PTSD in their 20s. That's common. And yeah, but also the 50s are the ones, or the 40s, which is suffered from like divorce and also abuse or grief because their parents are at the age, passing, and yeah.
Yeah, that I call it we call it the sandwich generation, the ones that parents are, you're still taking care of aging parents, you're still taking care of kids like teenage years. There's like, there's a lot of grief that shows up as our identity starts also shifting and looking different when you're no longer a caretaker to your children because they've already moved away and are to college, but now you're all of a sudden caretaking for your parents, so that could be a lot.
Yeah.
Now, in your life, you had a major pivot and identity shift of even your career with having studied petroleum and then shoop, to this. So, talk about your own pivot and
Yeah.
how that was for you, because that was major. And I want to know also how the people around you, your family, your friends, what they thought of this major petroleum. I live in Texas, so that's like the oil business is the tech, what Texas is known for. So you made a major shift. So can you please talk about that?
Yeah, it was really interesting. It did not happen overnight though. So it started slowly. Like for example, the first was like I felt so overwhelmed from my 9 to 5, and then I felt that I don't have enough time for my kids. They were smaller that time. They were like around 6 and 10, So I that was the first thing. Like, okay, I want to quit my 9 to 5. That was my first thing. And then when I became a contractor, I felt better because I had more time for the kids. I felt more free, but then I started to have that calling that I want to meditate, I want to do healing for clients, or I want to help others. Like I had this kind of calling. And then that's when I got also introduced to karma yoga healing, when I started to heal my physical issues. And this was just all coming together, like, oh my God, these tools are so great, I want to show it to people. So it was more like exciting. And then for like a year or two, I was actually doing it parallel. So I would already had some clients, but in London, I already moved to London, but I still had my old job as a contractor. So I was doing it for like a year like that. And then one day I just felt like, oh my God, I just feel like I can't do this reporting anymore. So I don't want to look at numbers. I don't want to use this software. I just felt like a really big rejection in my body somehow. It was really weird. And then the funny thing was, like, within a couple of weeks, my manager just called and said that we don't have any more work for you because we are want to get rid of the contractors. And I was like, wow, that was a big manifestation. So basically I lost that, and then I wasn't seeking for new work, because I felt like probably this is the time I really need to change. Yeah.
It's so funny because even though that's what you wanted to do was leave it, the fact that you had to be let go for you to leave it officially, and a lot of times people, when that happens in life, they take these moments of, okay, now what? And they may continue and go back on, jump on the same horse that they were, even if they were unhappy and it was not bringing them this contentment and kind of alignment in their own life. We tend to sometimes go back to what we know, right? And instead of really trying to go into something that is more aligned with who we are right now. Because something we might have been doing for so many years might have been in alignment with us then, but we change. We're constantly evolving and changing as human beings. And it's okay to shift and change paths. And it is scary. It is scary. It's
Yeah.
a new
Yeah.
journey, right?
And I was passionate about the oil industry. I really enjoy that. I was passionate about working on those topics or using those softwares for a while, for like 15 years. But then it's just changed. And then it was actually terrifying, the thing that something what you believed is actually stable in your life can disappear so fast. And then you feel like you are in control. But what if you are not? Because what if it's meant to be like, I am becoming a healer. I'm becoming, someone who's helping others. And I actually have to get rid of this job because it felt like it wasn't my decision. It was felt like it was a higher power's decision, kind of. So it's also scary to understand that maybe you are not in control, and maybe you believe certain things is stable, they are not. So everything is temporary. That's what I want to say. And, the only thing constant is change. So if we are good with change, if we are good to understand that everything is temporary, then we can probably enjoy those temporary moments better.
Yeah, and it's so funny that even though we know that the only constant is change, we still are in our mind. Our mind struggles with change so much, even though it is the one thing that is guaranteed. Every time we change, it's like it's already used to going on a certain path, a certain pattern or a routine. It's like used to it, and then you change it, and it kind of feels like what? you know Disorienting, right, for our even for our mind, because it's so used to doing certain things a certain way. Yet we do end up adapting to those changes. Humanity is constantly adapting to all the changes that have happened throughout history, right, in general. So we can as well. Hi, I just wanted to take a quick pause and ask that if this episode is speaking to you, I'd love for you to subscribe to my newsletter. Just go to my website, Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between, and you will be receiving some of my newsletters I send every probably couple of weeks. Also, if someone has popped into your mind and you feel that this is something they would resonate with, please send them this episode right now because it may just be what they needed to hear. Now, let's get back to the show. Now, in those changes, you moved also a lot. So, I can you talk about that experience of starting new work or friends or relationships in every one of the countries that you lived, please?
The thing is what I realized that if you move with the person or people or the family you love, those moves are much more pleasantful, more exciting, more adventurous, more happy things, situations. But if you have to move alone, that's a bit more struggle. Like I remember that once I was moved to countries like when I was already had a relationship, and then I had to move to another country because the company was sending me. That was my worst thing, like because I was separated from my loved one, and then I had to also have I also had a bad manager who I didn't like. So basically it was a bit of struggle. So I actually become depressed during that couple of months being in that new country and working there because of the circumstances, because of the environment, because of the support group around me was different, and the demand was high, in the job, and my loved ones wasn't there. So that was, I think, one of the worst thing. But whenever I moved later on with for example, when I moved with the whole family, then it was much more pleasant because everybody who I loved was with me all the time, so it was like just happiness. It was like, oh, let's explore together, let's try this together, let's try this. So it's much more enjoyable when you do these moves basically with loved ones. Alone is a bit more struggle, but if you are an adventurous person, even alone you can find your tribe, or you can find fun in places, but it's better together, obviously.
When you move, do you have children? Do
Yes,
you
I
have
have
children?
two
So,
children.
two children. When you moved with your children, did that, because I can see how it could be exciting, but at the same time, not only are you kind of adjusting, but you're also helping your children adjust to this change and their own emotions. So navigating their own emotions as they're also letting go of where that used to be to where they go. So it's interesting that you say that for you, it's easier to move with it has been easier to move with family. And in my mind, I mean, I've moved with both family and then when I was on my own. And for myself, it was like easier, I guess, on myself because I only had to worry, this is before I had kids, about my own adjustment. But then as a mother, I'd have to also make sure that my kids were well adjusted. So the responsibility of it felt bigger in my experience. So I love how we both have different ways of viewing the same scenario. But I can see also, like, if you have your home, quote unquote, your home being your family unit, you don't feel alone in that changes and you're all together and you're navigating a change together.
Yeah, and then as you see, it's so important the perspective. Everybody has
Yes.
different perspective, and then if you create a positive perspective for yourself, then everything can be positive, right?
Yeah.
So for the kids, my son was a bit older when we started to moving around. So for like 7 years, from his birth until he was 7, we actually lived in Hungary when my mom was around, and then family around, and he went into Hungarian kindergarten. But basically, after when he was 7 and my daughter was like 1.5, that's when we moved to the Netherlands. And for him, it was a bit more tough than to my daughter, obviously, because she didn't go to socializing for a while. And then she absolutely forgot about the Netherlands. She didn't even remember. And then for my son, it was, I had to get into school, new community, everything. So it was a bit harsh on him. And then when we moved again to back to Hungary to a new school, and then we moved again to the New Zealand, and then we moved again to UK. So before we moved to UK, my son was saying like, oh, can we not move now? We moved so many already. And then, no, I love my friends, I don't want to move again. And I told them like, oh, let's see this one now, because it should be the last move. Or, I was like kind of making it digestible for them. And
Yeah.
then my daughter was more adaptable. She was always excited about any of these moves. She was just, she was younger. She was not that worried. And then my son. But eventually now, like, we are here for 7 years now. Now all of them says that it was a good decision to come here, because they feel more, happier here and safer. And then they believe it's a better place for us. So yeah, so it turned out well. So
Good. Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny because I remember when my parents, when I was a teenager, and sometimes they would talk about moving, I'd be like, no, no, wait till I graduate from high school. Because for at least for me as a teenager, my friends were my priority. My friend, that was like the main, that was what quote unquote home was for me, was my friends. Like, so and I know it sounds very selfish, but as a teenager, that was my circle. So moving as a teenager, I think in general, it can be much harder because that's when you feel like these are your friends, and then you move somewhere as a teenager and then people already have their little circles. So trying to immerse yourself into somebody else's circle of friends can be a little challenging. So I can see how your son probably had a little bit of a harder time when you moved to the UK, because he might have already established those friend groups. So thank you for sharing those. And you're right, perspective is different, and that's how we have to address with everybody. Not everybody's situation and way of dealing with a situation is the same. And the same goes then with trauma. For someone, a certain experience could have created trauma for them, and that same experience for someone else doesn't. Can you talk about that and the aspects of trauma and how different perspective is for that?
yes, so basically the triggers, what they are experiencing, is related to their roots, their core situation. So if they had a childhood when they never happened to them anything negative about related to the same thing, like losing as a place or a home or friends or something, then it wouldn't trigger them basically. But and it could be also past life. So many times we don't know why certain people get triggered, because was it this lifetime or past life trauma? We don't know. Maybe this lifetime. Sometimes I'm talking to people and they said like, oh, I don't need trauma healing, my childhood was perfect, like and then they still got triggered, they still got angry, they still got frustrated, or they still can get depressed, whatever, because their past life, maybe they experience things which is triggering them now. So it's everything is connected. We can't really take only this lifetime as this is the only possibility what happened to you, because we are multidimensional beings. We had a multidimensional experience, and then is actually affecting our current reality. So when you actually not happy, when you are feeling that something is triggering you, and you feel disappointed, depressed, and having high anxiety, having all kinds of bad feelings, then it's related. It might relate it to past life things. So it's worth to actually dig deep and find the roots, because when we do that, when we release that and heal that, basically your life just changing to the better. So in my life is like, when I was like riding an emotional roller coaster for every stupid things, and then suddenly I just started to like smooth out, and this now is like smooth, which means like hardly anything can trigger me, because it's just all of the roots were like cleared out in the last couple of years. So what's happening to my clients, that when they come to me with a specific issue, is basically it's within a 4 weeks. I'm working with them on a 4 weeks plan, like a 30 days plan. And in that 30 days, I help them with that urgency, what they coming to me. But after the 30 days, other things can come up as well later. So then we can, take care of that with the different programs. But for a certain urgency, as I talked about the depression or grief or PTSD, we can actually deal with that in 4 weeks, in 30 days, and then they feel already empowered and excited about life again, and just feeling more in peace.
And in those 4 weeks, how often do they meet with you in those 4 weeks as they're navigating through the program?
Yeah, so we have a weekly session, which is about 2 hours. That's the source memory healing. So we go through like four specific situations in that 4 weeks. And then also, meanwhile, they doing daily meditations. I have a meditation library with also with the ancestral healing meditations and different other karma healing meditations and different other, like meditations which helps them every day. So basically they get a plan which they need to follow, and then I have a course which called a life transformation system. So they watch those videos because it explains them more about ancestral healing, about the vibration, about mindset, about positive thinking, all of the things which might they would ask me, or whatever. So it's better to them to watch it, and they can write their homework, so they can write questions. So basically we don't spend too much time on the one-on-one calls to explaining them all of these details. So that's how I combine this program for them.
Yeah, and then sometimes understanding the how something works ends up making it a little bit easier for someone to then really trust the process, right? If you understand even the science behind it all. I had a friend, someone on the podcast in a Spanish episode of the podcast, who is certified with Dr. Joe Dispenza. She's like what? So she in that episode she was explaining that knowing the science of meditation really and the power of it makes a huge difference than when people go into these retreats of meditation retreats or things like that to really be able to take full advantage of it when they understand the how. So going in, so right is do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just makes me smile because I remember that when I had my first clients, like back in 2019, one of them brought me the book from Dr. Joe Dispenza, and the book was The Becoming Supernatural. And then I was reading the book because I didn't know him, and I reading the book, and then I realized that he's doing same meditations like I do, which I learned from the guru. And he actually explained in the beginning of the book that the source of his things is yogis as well. So the activation, what he does, activating the pineal glands through, bringing the light into the cerebellum, and then is the same process which I learned from my guru from Kashmir. So basically, he brought the same ancient studies into his. The good thing is that he actually took the time to explain everything on a neuroscience way so people can understand. So now if someone comes to me and tells me like, or have some skeptic, I always tell them to go to Joe Dispenza to read the book, and then you will know
They
it
come back.
works.
Yeah, Becoming
Yeah,
Supernatural or the what is the other one? The one I've read, the one
the
of
Hobbit,
becoming
the
habit
Hobbit.
of, yeah, of not
Yeah.
being yourself, something like that. The gosh, I can't think of the names. But yes, there's several books, and if not, like you could just watch some of his interviews or other things like that. But to be able to understand the
And the thing
science,
is, that nothing is new in this world.
right?
Everything is already existed. Family constellation therapy existed thousands of years ago, back in with the gurus, in the ancient times. But now, as everybody is picking up, and there are other things that people start channeling from source, like any kinds of healing practices, healing techniques. They say it's mine. I channeled it. I write it down. Yes, but other people channeled it as well. It's like because it's there.
It's
It's in
coming
the
from the same.
aether. Yeah.
Yes, and
Exactly.
that's sometimes when people say. And I was talking to yeah, somebody the other day, and it's this part of like everything's there in the how do you say it? Ether. How do you say it in
Ether, yeah,
English?
we can
Ether.
say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ether. I think is in
Yes,
English. Yeah,
ether, yeah.
ether. Yeah, and in Hungarian and in Spanish it's probably ether. And the ether, and it's like you just have to be this open channel and then grab. And that happens a lot of times when you see a book. You may read a book and you're like, oh my God, I've read this book before. And you read another one. And it's not even that this person copied that other person. It literally is because it's that information that's been channeled. Art, you see that in art and expressions of art. You see that happens a lot of times when people even come up with an invention. They go and try to patent something, and somebody had just put the patent for the same probably thing. I'm kind of say I don't know that for a fact, that part of the patents, but I can I can see because that is like the information's there, and sometimes it is meant to be received, and all we have to do is be open and be that channel in order to. grasp it and be the one to bring it into fruition,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Especially with
exactly.
creativity and things like that too. It's like just being open. So yeah, I love that nowadays we're kind of going back to more of our original way and how we did things, right? And it's okay to mix a combination of the two with the Western way of thinking, but then also going back into the ancient ways and which things had been done, the holistic approach to viewing health, viewing our life, just all these different ways. So there's always a way. Now, I want to talk about your books since we just talked about Dr. Joe Dispenza's books, and let's talk about your books because you're an author. Which one of your books was that you and that was the one that made you a number one?
Yeah, so
Um,
that was long time ago. It was actually a co-authoring. So I was co-authored with other authors in a book which calls the One Habit for Entrepreneurial
I see it.
Success. So that's when the time I started to be a success habit coach as well. So when I was writing in this book, the One Habit, and that was became a bestseller. And later, a couple of years later, 2 years later, I actually published my book, which is called
On the
On the Healer's
yeah,
Journey.
healer's journey.
Yeah,
I'm looking at them now.
yeah, on the healer's journey. That was a book for light workers or people who feel a calling to become a light worker or healer, and then they feel a bit stuck or they feel misunderstood or they feel unsupported in this journey. They feel like in a cocoon phase, when they need that encouragement, when they need that push, that help, and then some understanding like how to go from the cocoon phase and becoming a butterfly. So that's basically this on the healer's journey, and it has beautiful pictures to mandalas to color. So every chapter has different mandalas. So if you get the paperback, then you can actually use it as a coloring book as well. And it's a tiny one, so you can put it in your small bag. And the second book,
Rising
yeah,
after abuse.
oh, that was again a co-author book, The Rising
Hmm.
After Abuse. That was a co-author book, and but my personal second book just came out this last October. That was the Gap Filler Success. It's simple steps to reach your goals, and I felt this gap filler success so close to my heart because it also includes lots of my stories, my personal stories, like how I reached certain goals within my petroleum careers, or as a healer, or as a being a speaker and then a writer or author. So basically it explains also some of my travels, how I travel to different countries, how I've done different jobs and stuff. So basically it gives a little bit of storytelling, but it also gives you a lot of how can I say, guidance, how to take certain actions to reach your goals. And I created like two parts in this book. The first part is for people who's very strategic thinking, who like to take action, who's like not that spiritual, they're more grounded. That's the first part, because that was me, before, and that's how I reached those goals, right? And then the second part of my book is more the spiritual one, when I also use manifestation, I law of attraction, and also the healing, the trauma release, the subconscious reprogramming, and the astrology, numerology, and then I give some guidance about those things as well in the book. And meditation, there is a whole meditation in the book, and some calculations for numerology and stuff like that. So basically, it gives you a lot of tools to use and implement, and then basically to help you to reach your goals.
I love it. I love that. So it's a goal orienting book, but also intertwined with your own healing and your perspective and the way that you used to think, and then the way that you think now. The Edith before and the Edith now, right? Yeah, of
Yes.
that process. And we were all somewhere. Some of us may be right in the middle of where with those things. So thank you for that. Now, what would you say would be the first thing that someone could do, not should, there's no shoulds, but could do in their journey if they're right now in a crossroad in their life in which they're really unsure as to what to do, whether it is that they're going through depression or again in a divorce or something like that. What would be one of the things they could do? Start reading or reaching out to someone? What would you suggest is the best approach for someone that's listening right now?
Yeah, so basically, samadhi meditation itself would help a lot. So if people start practicing that meditation, because it helps them to heal their chakras, it helps them to, through the activation, to download more positive thinking, their new vision, their new ideas gonna be downloaded much faster. I remember when I first time did the samadhi meditation, when I met the guru, it was like synchronicity, serendipities, like, and then vision was just coming through me like really fast paced. Like I was already in the spiritual healing journey for many years, like with the Reiki, but I never felt such a strong connection like after this meditation and just doing one. So samadhi meditation I would recommend. Also, it's on my YouTube channel. So if someone goes to my website edithbikis.com, they can actually find the YouTube link there. So they can go to my YouTube, and my YouTube I have a playlist, and in the playlist there is one of them is meditation playlist. So there is the samadhi meditation there. They can try practicing, and then other meditations I would recommend as well, because that's what they can do themselves first, to bring them less worry, more peace, just getting aligned again with themselves, with their higher self, channeling some more positive thing for the future. And then also to take care of themselves, because I also realized with my clients that the body, mind, spirit is really connected. And why we're taking care of the spiritual healing through meditations and the healing techniques like source memory healing, we also need to cultivate a positive mindset, believing that life is just getting better as I grow, as I go through things. So basically having that positive mindset that yes, I'm hopeful, I know it's just gonna get better. And then saying good affirmations for yourself in the mornings and in the evenings, which can keep you going, which keeps you, and like gratitude list and something like that. And then the body is also very important, because I also realized that what we consume is really affecting also our mental health. Having great supplements, if you don't have a nutritional food, at least take supplements like vitamin B or iron, magnesium, to make sure that you don't get over anxiety or these kind of things, because it's really related to what you eat. Also, like sugar, caffeine, alcohol, they all amplify these mental health issues. So if you can get rid of those, that's also great. And in the meditation library, it's also there's a meditation for intoxication or addiction issues. So basically, if you feel like you're craving things and you can't stop, then I would recommend that meditation, because it's also like, as you clear that channel, as you connect more, as you raise your vibration, your body will know that those food are low vibration and that I'm not matching with that anymore. So basically, it will help you to get rid of those negative food effortlessly.
I love all these tips that you gave because these are things that we can start doing and start implementing into our lives, take action, and then being able to also contact people like yourself to be able to guide us even then further if we need to. So how do people reach you? Your website is a way to be able to do it. And what
Yes.
are yeah, can you share?
So they can book a free conversation with me, to find out what they need. And also I have a community and school. Might you guys know what is school is? skool.com is a community page. Like basically they have many communities there. My community called Release with Ease. So if someone goes to school.com, skool.com, you just search for Release with Ease, and basically you can find my community is free to join. And I have also meditation library there, courses there, and then live group sessions with me. So it's easy to connect with me there and find support.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Edith, for sharing that. Edith, I always like to ask the guests if there is something else you want to make sure to share with the audience that I
I
had not
think
asked you.
we I think we covered a lot, so I'm really happy.
Good. Thank you so much again for being such a insightful guest, sharing so much information. And people can also reach your books then as well. So on your website, there's the links to all the resources that you mentioned, and the link to also being able to get your books. And most of them are on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yes, if
So
they go to Amazon and just put my name in, Edith Bikis, and they can find my books there. Yeah.
yeah, and I'll put the links of your website and on the show notes. Thank you, Edith.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you again so much for choosing to listen today. I hope that you can take away a few nuggets from today's episode that can bring you comfort in your times of grief. If so, it would mean so much to me if you would rate and comment on this episode. And if you feel inspired in some way to share it with someone who may need to hear this, please do so. Also, if you or someone you know has a story of grief and gratitude that should be shared so that others can be inspired as well, please reach out to me. And thanks once again for tuning in to Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between podcast. Have a beautiful day.